Good morning. I'm Deputy Chief Michael Walek of the Clearwater Police Department, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, Walek, W-A-L-E-K. Also present is St. Petersburg Assistant Police Chief Mike Kovacev, and Clearwater Police Department homicide detectives are located to your left and in the back of the room as well. We're here this morning to announce the second arrest in the Jeffrey Chapman homicide case from Clearwater Beach on October 21st. Savonne Morrison, 18, of Land O'Lakes, was arrested Tuesday and charged with principal to first-degree murder. He was booked into the Pasco County Jail and will be moved to the Pinellas County Jail in the coming days. Morrison has a previous criminal history involving violent crime and was currently out on felony probation for armed carjacking. While our detectives continue to investigate this senseless crime, we are confident we have in custody the two suspects responsible for this murder. Morrison jumped out of the car on Mandalay Avenue, pushed the victim from his bicycle, while Jermaine Bennett beat him with a long metal tool similar to a tire iron. Our homicide in Clearwater was not the first crime the two committed. Their crime spree began in St. Petersburg with a series of criminal mischief using the same object that would later become the murder weapon. Please note that the one visual board to my left that has a timeline associated with their crimes. Now I'd like to show you a video clip or video clips of the actual criminal mischiefs that occurred in St. Petersburg.
Recording?
Yeah.
Their rage wasn't directed only at cars, however. While still in St. Petersburg, they beat an elderly man and left him battered in the street about an hour before the murder in Clearwater. We continue to work with the St. Petersburg Police Department to investigate that case. We don't know how or why they ended up in Clearwater, but their violent crime spree turned deadly when they beat Jeffrey Chapman to death while he was simply riding his bike on Mandalay Avenue on his way home. Our thoughts continue to be with the victim's family and friends. This was a senseless and horrendous crime that has no logical explanation. You also notice from the other board that's in front of you to my left that their text messages earlier that night proved that they were going on a crime spree. And other text messages, their very own words, connect them to the murder case in Clearwater. Hours after the murder, Morrison texted Bennett a link to a news story about the murder case in Clearwater Beach. Bennett responded with an LOL and referred to himself and the other suspect as legends. They are not legends. They are despicable criminals who will face their consequences for their actions in the criminal justice system. They took a good man from his family and his friends way too soon. I'd like to thank our homicide detectives, other police department personnel for their tireless work for the last 2 weeks. I'd also like to thank the Pasco County Sheriff's Office for their assistance and the St. Petersburg Police Department for their assistance in the course of our investigations and their investigations. Now I'll take any questions you might have.
I don't want this to sound flip at all. It's not meant to be, but what is wrong with them? Can you identify something going on personally that led them to this?
The only thing I can tell you is one of them told us it was the ills of society that plagued him. That was Bennett. That's all I can tell you. I have no idea how to even react to that.
Do they have any violent history? Have you found anything from family members, anything that suggests these kinds of outbursts had happened previously?
I do not have the answer to the family history with me, but I can tell you that Morrison has a violent history of armed carjacking. He was on probation for.
Both these guys raised in the Bay Area, or did they come here at a different point?
I don't know if they were raised here, but they're friends and their families live together in the area. That's how they got to know each other.
Do you know the condition of that? You said a homeless person was attacked by them before, was injured. Do we know in St. Petersburg, do we know his or her condition?
Yeah, so St. Petersburg victim was an elderly individual. He wasn't homeless, but he was an elderly individual, and his condition is improving. Broken bones, broken ribs, and it was critical initially on, and we were able to link those pretty quickly.
And when did that incident happen? That happened before this one?
I believe it was about an hour beforehand, the same evening.
Those car things that they were doing, breaking the windows, those were all in St. Petersburg.
Correct, and that's actually a point that the assistant chief made is the fact is that most of those were reported after we started getting the information out, and we had to kind of backtrack to figure it out with our detectives to identify those. Not all the vehicles have been identified for victims yet, so that's one of the calls that I know they want to put out is let us know if you had some damage on your vehicles that night. We'd like to kind of come out and reverse engineer it and get a little more follow-up done.
Is there a particular part of the city where you noticed that even the ones that have been reported took place in?
Most of them were in the uptown area, just north of downtown, and then our aggravated battery victim was near Bob's Carpet Mart, near Wawa, off of 22nd Avenue.
That was footage that they took themselves, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, so were they posting this, or that's how it assisted you in capturing them?
We were able to capture them using some investigative tools we have with cameras from car descriptions and stuff like that. To say they were posting these videos, I cannot say that. I can simply say that they're obtained off digital forensics from cell phones.
Did Morrison send any text messages to Bennett?
Did Morrison send a text message? Yes, he did. Savonne Morrison on 10/21 of 2022 at 12:04 in the afternoon, which was after our press conference, said that they don't know expletive about this.
How soon were you able to locate that second suspect that you were looking for him the last time you checked in with you?
We received information early on, but we continued to investigate it to be sure we had the right person, and Tuesday was the day of the arrest.
Did they have any reason, you said there's no logical explanation that they gave for any of this, but did they have any reason why they said they recorded all of this?
They didn't say. I don't want to sit here and guess either, but they did it.
Were all the videos that you showed from the night of the attack, and seeing that they were brazen enough just to videotape that act, did they also videotape the meetings on either?
So all those videos were from that night of, yes. We still continue to go through thousands of videos from their phones, so I cannot tell you at this time if there's anything else on there that's been captured.
No, you don't know, you can't say yes or no whether they captured the actual footage of them attacking either of these men?
Correct. I don't have that information. There, like I said, the phone had a lot of videos, a lot of photographs, so I can't sit here and comment either way there is or is not. But I would encourage, as the Assistant Chief said, if there's any other people that were victims of being clubbed or victims of having their cars damaged, that encourage them to call the Clearwater Police Department or the St. Petersburg Police Department wherever they live. We did have 2 instances of windows being smashed in our city as well.
Was there any effort made to find out if there was a trigger that day? Did something happen?
We continue to investigate the victimology of this entire thing, but I think if you look at the one board, there's a message that says they're about to get ghetto. So this was obviously pre-planned in their mind that they're going to go out and start wreaking havoc throughout the cities.
Was the elderly man doing anything in particular, walking to a store, or?
So not, our individual survived. He was an aggravated. He was, as far as I know, he was just out at night, nothing in particular, and they located him on 22nd Avenue. So,
He was walking though?
22nd Avenue North, yeah.
He was walking?
I'll have to check. I thought he was on a bicycle, but I'm not 100% sure, but I can get you that information if you need that.
And he's improving, I assume he's still in the hospital?
Correct, he is improving, correct.
In the hospital?
I believe he's been released now,
You believe he's improving?
yes.
Looking Caucasian?
I would have to ask.
You're not releasing his name or anything at this point?
No, he was a victim of a crime, and at that point, we didn't release his name. So it might be something we can follow up later on if there's a need.
Looking at the Instagram post that you guys have on the board here, it seems like their intent was to murder where he's going, I murdered 2 people. It seems like that was the intent for both victims.
Doesn't get much clearer than that.
You were saying about how they were using something that looked like a crowbar, but looking at it, they had quite a challenge trying to break through glass. Can you give us a better description of what that was exactly they were using?
I would describe it as a tire iron that you find in the back of the trunk of your car to change your spare tire, where it has an attachment for the actual lug nut on it. I would describe it as a tool very similar to that.
Obviously, this was such a difficult moment for the Chapman family. Can you just give us a description of like who Jeffrey was? It seemed like he was someone who was out and about in North Beach quite a bit.
So Jeffrey Chapman was a gentleman that lived on the north end of Clearwater Beach that enjoyed the beach. He enjoyed riding his bicycle or walking on the beach. He has an extensive group of friends that lived on the beach. He's also very much a family man. I believe it was every 6 weeks he'd fly to Maine to visit his relatives in Maine. He was a person that did not deserve this at all. Very much a family man and a man of his community.
What is your goal in releasing this video?
Well, the first goal was to show their violent tendencies that they had. This was completely, like I said, wrong what they did. But it's also to gather other victims out there. There could be other people out there that didn't bring this forward, and we want to push everything we can to solve everything that we can.
Your message to the public, I mean, these were random attacks, which is probably the scariest kinds of attacks of all. That could be anyone. But your message to the public about just the ability to try to curb violence like this, even though it's very difficult.
I would describe this as a very random act. This happened to be the wrong place at the wrong time. We continue to police very thoroughly in Clearwater Beach. There is not a threat to the public out there. This is very much a random act. As you can see, these guys didn't even live here. They drove throughout counties, 3 counties, Pinellas County, Pasco County, and so forth, just to get here. And the messages say the best. They're about to get ghetto. I don't know how else to say this, but it's just a very horrific crime.
Were there any incidents that crime in Pasco County that committed breaking into vehicles?
There was a crime that occurred in Pasco County that was not related to the murder here, that was similar.
Okay. So they're facing charges in Pasco?
Correct.
As well as St. Pete, as well as?
These 2 are facing charges in Pinellas County right now. There's a separate 3rd case that's not related to these 2.
Okay, so
Pasco.
These would be quoted as Pinellas
Right.
cases and the Pasco case.
We still continue to put all our investigative efforts into these 2 to figure out what else happened. Is there other victims out there? Is there other cars that were vandalized out there?
Had either of them been recently incarcerated?
Do I know what? I'm sorry.
Had either of them been recently incarcerated?
No, the only thing I can tell you off the top of my head that Morrison was on active felony probation for armed carjacking.
He was wanted?
He was not wanted. He was on active felony
Oh,
probation.
yeah,
Probation.
sorry.
All right, I'll take 2 more, and that'll be the end. That's it. All right. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming out.
I think everybody got a thumb drive that has the videos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No.